Well, for the first time in many weeks, Dalton trustees and Mayor Tiffany Henyard held a public meeting together, but not
at the heart of a growing political tempest in Dalton, Illinois. Mayor Tiffany Henyard became the center of attention during a dramatic village trustee meeting that few could have anticipated. A packed room buzzed with tension and curiosity, as the proceedings quickly turned into a spectacle destined to be discussed for months. Setting the tone for the evening was Mayor Henyard's bold choice of attire. A solid gold blazer, reportedly priced at $619. This sartorial statement, symbolic of the larger controversies surrounding her leadership, immediately sparked debate about extravagance and accountability. As the meeting began, the audience couldn't help but focus on this striking fashion choice, which seemed to amplify the growing criticisms of her priorities and judgment initially. The meeting's agenda aimed to address pressing community concerns, including Dalton's financial struggles and governance challenges. However, discussions quickly veered into critiques of Mayor Henyard's spending habits, demeanor, and what many residents perceived as her tone-deaf leadership. Despite the mounting criticism, Mayor Henyard remained steadfast and unapologetic, her commanding presence further polarizing the room. Supporters praised her confidence and charisma, while critics viewed her actions as emblematic of a disconnect with the economic realities faced by constituents. Tensions escalated when a trustee openly confronted Mayor Henyard about her leadership style and priorities. The exchange grew heated, captivating attendees as the room divided along lines of support and dissent. Meanwhile, local media and social platforms amplified the spectacle, with photos of the mayor's gold blazer trending online. Animated discussions dissected the optics and implications of her bold wardrobe choice, further fueling public scrutiny. Mayor Henyard, seemingly unfazed by the backlash, positioned herself as a figure of resilience and strength under fire. While this stance earned admiration from some, others viewed it as defiance in the face of legitimate concerns. By the meeting's end, the original agenda had been overshadowed by the palpable divides and raw emotions dominating the evening. The community was left grappling with deeper questions about leadership, responsibility, and the blurred line between personal expression and public duty. However, this wasn't the only controversy of the night. Mayor Henyard's focus appeared singular, reclaiming $619 that she alleged was owed to her. Her dramatic entrance in the gold blazer set the stage for an evening that felt more like a personal crusade than a government assembly. Far from addressing Dalton's fiscal challenges or presenting a coherent plan for the struggling village, Mayor Henyard fixated on recovering the funds, which she claimed were her rightful reimbursement from a $10,000 training budget. The situation escalated rapidly as the mayor demanded answers about the withheld reimbursement. Waving receipts in the air, she accused trustee Tammy Brown of deliberately obstructing the payment. The formal meeting devolved into a scene reminiscent of a public airing of grievances, with audible gasps and murmurs from the audience punctuating the heated exchanges. "I want my money back," Mayor Henyard declared repeatedly, her voice rising above the crowd as she transformed the meeting into a theater of personal vendetta. Critics in attendance questioned why the mayor was so fixated on a relatively small sum of money in the midst of Dalton's broader financial crisis. They characterized her actions as petty and tone-deaf, suggesting that such displays only further eroded public confidence in her leadership. Some trustees and residents viewed the dispute as a symptom of deeper systemic issues within Dalton's governance. Others dismissed it as yet another dramatic episode in Mayor Henyard's polarizing tenure. Undeterred, Mayor Henyard doubled down, calling out specific trustees by name and scrutinizing their spending habits. She argued that her request for $619 paled in comparison to what she alleged were unchecked tens of thousands of dollars being misallocated elsewhere in the budget. The blame shifting did little to quell the uproar, as both critics and supporters in the room became increasingly vocal. The meeting, originally intended to address critical community needs, became dominated by the mayor's vocal pleas and pointed accusations. The original agenda was largely forgotten as the $619 dispute took center stage. By the time the meeting adjourned, the board appeared more fractured than ever, with tensions at an all-time high outside the meeting room. The drama spilled onto social media and local news outlets. Reactions were swift and sharply divided. Detractors condemned the mayor's actions as an embarrassing display of self-interest and a dereliction of duty. They argued that her focus on personal reimbursement during a time of fiscal crisis underscored her lack of priorities. Meanwhile, supporters lauded her audacity, framing her actions as a stand for accountability and justice within a mismanaged system as the dust settled. The controversy surrounding Mayor Henry's gold blazer and the $619 dispute highlighted deeper issues within Dalton's leadership. The incident became emblematic of the larger challenges facing the village, from financial mismanagement to the growing disconnect between elected officials and their constituents. For some, it was another chapter in the saga of a polarizing leader. For others, it was a wake-up call about the need for meaningful change regardless of perspective. One thing was clear: the events of that evening will not be forgotten anytime soon. Mayor Henry's headline-grabbing moment, equal parts surreal and contentious, underscored the complexities of leadership in a community where passions run high and stakes are even higher. Whether seen as a figure of resilience or a symbol of mismanagement, Mayor Henry has once again ensured that her tenure remains firmly in the public eye.
The announcement that she claims will result in some of her opponents being arrested.
As the drama escalated during the village trustee meeting, Mayor Tiffany Henyard intensified the tension by shifting her focus from her $619 reimbursement demand to scathing accusations about the village's financial mismanagement. Henry lambasted the trustees for what she described as reckless and wasteful spending, which she argued was depleting Dalton's coffers while essential services were being neglected, highlighting inefficiencies. She pointed out that village employees had been sitting idle for months due to a lack of internet access, even as the village continued paying exorbitant fees to an internet provider after email services had been cut off. Brandishing an invoice totaling $336,500 for services rendered by the trustee's lawyer, she juxtaposed it with her modest $619 request, bluntly stating, "The math just doesn't add up." Henry's critique extended beyond contracts and legal bills. She delved into what she called an alarming pattern of frivolous expenditures, singling out the village's recent Valentine's Day event. According to Henry, the celebration cost thousands of dollars in police overtime, as officers were diverted from their regular duties to act as her personal security detail. "We can't afford this," she declared, frustration evident in her voice. "And yet, they're throwing parties while the rest of us are trying to keep the village afloat." Henry painted a grim picture of a community struggling to meet basic needs while trustees allegedly prioritize extravagant events over critical services. She accused the board of ignoring urgent issues, such as stabilizing finances and restoring essential services, in favor of maintaining an illusion of affluence. Her remarks struck a chord with some attendees, who nodded in agreement, while others rolled their eyes at what they perceived as hypocrisy, given the ongoing controversy surrounding her own spending choices, including her gold blazer and heated pursuit of $619. By the end of her fiery critique, Henry had shifted the meeting's focus from her personal grievance to a broader indictment of village governance. Supporters commended her for spotlighting mismanagement, while critics accused her of deflection and further inflaming tensions. What began as a routine meeting to address community priorities evolved into a heated debate about fiscal responsibility, leadership, and Dalton's future. The night's fiery clashes and unresolved tensions ensured that it would remain a focal point of local discussions for weeks to come.
Tiffany Henyard has filed eviction papers. She says Henyard has not.
The drama surrounding Mayor Tiffany Henyard of Dalton continues to intensify, with new allegations and controversies surfacing at every turn. During a heated village trustee meeting, Tiffany shifted her focus from her now infamous $619 reimbursement demand to scathing accusations of financial mismanagement by the trustees. She accused them of reckless spending that drained the village's finances while neglecting essential services. Among her claims, Tiffany pointed to village employees being left idle for months due to a lack of internet access, even as the village paid exorbitant fees to a service provider despite email access being cut off. Holding up an invoice for $336,500 paid to the trustee's lawyer, she compared it to her $619 request, declaring, "The math just doesn't add up." Her criticisms extended to what she described as frivolous expenditures, such as a Valentine's Day event that reportedly cost thousands in police overtime. Tiffany alleged that officers were pulled from their regular duties to act as her personal security detail during the celebration. "We can't afford this," she said, her frustration evident. "They're throwing parties while the rest of us are trying to keep the village afloat." Tiffany's accusations didn't stop there. She accused the trustees of abusing police resources for personal political gain, alleging that officers had been instructed to harass and follow their political opponents. In a shocking revelation, a former police chief reportedly admitted to being directed to target specific individuals. "This isn't what the police are for," Tiffany said, shaking her head. "The police are meant to serve and protect the community, not act as puppets for the trustees vowing to clean up what she called a mess in Dalton." Tiffany promised to hold those responsible accountable. She announced plans to bring in outside auditors to investigate financial mismanagement and accused the trustees of appointing her personal lawyer as the village's official counsel. "Yes, you heard me correctly," she said, claiming her lawyer's appointment was a conflict of interest orchestrated by her opponents. Meanwhile, her insistence on the $619 reimbursement became a mantra, symbolizing what she framed as a broader fight against corruption. Critics, however, were quick to point out the irony of her relentless pursuit of a relatively small amount, especially amid allegations of her own questionable spending habits. Rumors swirled about Tiffany's alleged misuse of public funds, including $443,000 spent on Amazon in a single day and nearly $500,000 on her mother's driveway. To make matters worse, Tiffany is reportedly facing eviction from her home for failing to pay over $5,000 in rent. According to her landlord, Janetta Hall, Tiffany and her boyfriend, Sim Woods, have changed the locks to avoid eviction notices. Hall, who attended the township meeting in hopes of resolving the issue, described the situation as surreal. "It's like something from a bad movie," she said, adding to the chaos. Tiffany is now under federal investigation for allegedly using village funds for personal expenses, including luxury travel and pricey meals. These allegations have fueled a growing movement to remove her from office, with some locals dubbing her the worst mayor in America. Despite this, Tiffany has declared her intention to run for re-election, a move that has left many both baffled and intrigued whether you like her or not. "You have to admit she isn't going down without a fight," said one observer. Tiffany's detractors accuse her of deflecting blame and exacerbating tensions, while her supporters see her as a bold leader exposing corruption. Her vow to hold her rivals accountable has only added to the polarized atmosphere in Dalton as the village grapples with these escalating scandals. Residents are left questioning whether Tiffany is genuinely trying to address Dalton's issues or merely fueling the chaos for personal gain. The story of Tiffany Henry's tenure as mayor has become a political saga, blending elements of reality TV drama with real-world stakes. Will Tiffany manage to weather the storm, or will her critics succeed in ending her controversial reign? And will the $619 dispute ever be resolved? As Dalton's political landscape grows increasingly turbulent, one thing is certain: this story is far from over. Stay tuned for more updates on the bizarre and unfolding drama of Dalton politics.